Thank you for joining us today with Patriot Chew Talk. I'm Brian. I'm sure you saw a couple of my other videos here in from Harrison, Michigan, in Hayes Township, GFL transfer stations and stuff like that. And I had mentioned that there was a company called Atwell looking for a spot to put a solar farm, and Hayes Township went ahead and did a moratorium, stating that they're not going to be able to do anything like that for at least 1 year. And I said I would, get um a copy of that and we would talk about it. So here I am. I know it's been, a month since I did my last video. So there was some fact checking I had to do and some research that I wanted to get done first. And so let's get into it. So, yes, I wear glasses to read, only to read. So the moratorium number 26/01, large solar energy systems temporary moratorium. Okay, so in here I highlighted this part and it reads: an ordinance and resolution to enact a temporary moratorium until May 12th, 2027, or an earlier time in which the township adopts new regulations governing large solar energy systems and or otherwise rescinds this moratorium on the application, permitting, consideration, approval, location, erection, construction, and or installation of any new large solar energy systems subject to specified limited exceptions. Sorry about that, kind of stumbled a little bit. But okay, so that's kind of like a summary of what this little packet that I got from Hayes Township kind of says, and that's really how it starts. Okay, so if you look at it here, okay, so it's good till May 12th, 2027, which when they pass this, that's would be one year, because apparently that's how they wanted to do it. So, but stating it in here, okay, if they adopt um, new regulations, which is telling me they really don't have any regulations in the township for this yet. So obviously they're going to have to create some. So once that takes place, the moratorium right here that everybody voted on and it passed will no longer be a moratorium. They can cancel it. And according to what I've read here, the council, the city council of Hayes Township, can cancel this pretty much at any time. And I would say one of the biggest worries for people that live in Harrison would be, okay, if they go ahead and they cancel this, are they going to let us know that they're going to cancel it and move forward with this company Atwell? That's the company that's been searching for a location in Clare County, specifically around Harrison. So, if this can be canceled at any time, in my opinion, it's not worth the paper it's printed. Okay, so that is concerning. Okay, and it also goes on to say here, the current township zoning ordinance specifies no timeline in 1704 special use permits or 1903 site plan review. So that tells me that they don't even have anything set up for what permits they would need to go ahead and get from the city yet. So that's saying a lot there as well. When the township needs to decide on special use permits or system land use required a special use permit, which are discretionary decisions and do not give applications a legitimate claim or entitlement or justifiable expectations to receive such permit, See MCL 125.3502. And the township has a legitimate purpose in addressing the proper design, location, and operation of large solar energy system land uses in the township. Okay, so um, it also goes on to say the township enacts a temporary moratorium on the application, permitting, consideration, approval, location, erection, construction, and or installation of all and large solar energy systems in the township until, of course, May 12th, 2027, or at or an earlier time in which the township adopts new regulations governing large solar energy systems and or rescinds this moratorium. The township board by resolution may extend the time of this moratorium under, let's go to the next page, folks. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm just reading all the nice highlights so you can see exactly what they're doing. Moratorium is increments of up to 6 months. This moratorium shall not apply to solar energy facilities with a nameplate capacity of 50 megawatts or more, or any other renewable energy land use subject to Part 8 wind, solar, and storage certification of the Clean and Renewable Energy Waste Reduction Act, that is Act 295 of 2008, MCL 460.1221. Okay, so you can go, I give you enough information here to where you can go ahead and get this information yourself and read the whole thing. So, this document states two things. They can cancel this anytime that they want. They could cancel this tomorrow and allow Atwell to go ahead and put in the biggest uh, solar farm Michigan's ever seen. Okay, so I mean, this really doesn't do much. The only thing it really does is buys time for them to figure out. Okay, well, how much are they going to charge for the permits? Um, you know, the land use. Are they going to buy the land? Are they going to pay some special tax on it? How this pretty much gives the township ways to see how much they're going to charge for the solar farm to the company. At either Atwell does not own any solar farms, so this is more likely on the behalf of another company, maybe DTE or some other big corporation. We're going to talk a little bit about that company too. Stuff I found out about that company is this. It's going to blow your mind. Okay, so I think the only reason why they did the moratorium, which really is not worth the paper it's printed on, okay, that they're just buying time to see how much money the township can squeeze out of this deal, okay, and on the back of it here it also states how everybody voted. The yeas were Powell, McKay, Hoyt, and Kavanaugh. Now there was a absent person there, which was Buckley was absent. Okay, so even if he would have voted no, it still would have passed. So I mean, it's not a big deal if he's there or not. Nays, there were no nays, so it was a unanimous vote. So when this comes up, and if they decide to go ahead and go through with it anyway, here in Harrison, in Clare County, okay, now you know who not to vote for in the future. Okay, especially if you don't want solar farms here, because it's going to start with solar farms. Okay, and there's a big push in Michigan that you can see all over social media for data centers. Okay, and Atwell, the ones that's taking a look, trying to find a location, which I mean, there's certain criteria that um, they need to make sure that location already has or is going to be economically, safe to get those things there. Um, and there's different needs for the data centers. So right now they're starting out with solar, but they did the same thing in the Ann Arbor and Saline area. They started with solar farms there up at US 23. DDE put them in. Okay. Now they're building a data center in Saline. Years later, I mean, I think it was like, I think maybe 5 years, 6 years ago, they put the solar panels in there in that same area. Now it's data centers. These all the, from what I found out so far, the permits are really close to the same from a data center to a solar farm. Okay. And another thing I noticed too, I found out, and it's in the Michigan statute there, that every solar farm has to have a fence around it as well. Now I know the one on 23 and some of the ones that are downstate, I haven't seen a fence around those. Now I did take a look at the one that's on 127 down there by on the way to Mount Pleasant there. That one looks like it has a fence. It's not a real sturdy fence, and it's very low. From what I saw from driving by it. But at least there's a fence there. But I haven't really seen too many fences around these solar farms. Okay, and I know they're putting some out here on some farmers' property. I want to say over here in Hamilton Township or close to it. Oh no, I'm sorry, Gladwin. In Gladwin County, they're putting a lot of them in there. Okay, so I would say they're going to start with solar farms first, and eventually, if everybody stays quiet, then and don't voice their opinions at the meetings for Hayes Township, Surrey Township, Hamilton Township, all over Clare County. If you don't go there and you don't voice your opinion, you're not going to be heard, and they're going to go through with it. Now, in what, 5 to 10 years down the road, they're gonna be saying, "Oh, we want to open up a huge data center now." And the only thing that the data centers is going to do is it's going to go ahead and contaminate all the great resources we have here in Michigan, like our lakes. I mean, all the lakes that we have up here right now, they'd be all contaminated, just like all the contamination in Huron Township and the Huron River that goes all the way through Ypsilanti. They have signs there, and I know I've seen them myself. They have signs in Ypsilanti by the Huron River and Ford Lake. You can fish there, but they have signs: "Do not eat the fish; it's dangerous." They got signs right there because all that got contaminated years and years ago from a factory in Wixom, which I think a lot of people forgot. I forgot about that because the PFAS that the factory in Wixom, if I remember correctly, I mean, this is back in 2015, quite some time ago there, folks. But I did follow that story back in 2015 when they found out, and you know that contaminated a lot, and that could be the same thing with data centers. There's already a data center here in Michigan. I'm not even going to try and pronounce the name. I know it starts with a D, but there are people there that's already complaining about the water that's coming out of their faucets from the city. It's all brown, and the noise. The residents there, they're complaining about the noise. I don't think there's really any or much noise, maybe as a solar farm would do, but if it's a higher pitched noise that we're not going to be able to hear, maybe a dog could, but we can't. It could still affect your hearing, years to come. So, and let's get to the sustainability as well for a solar farm, for solar power and wind, and let's add wind power to it too. Okay, now we have winters here in Michigan, and it does not get all that much sun. So is it really worth having solar power here in Michigan? When they put the solar farms in down by that Ann Arbor area in Washtenaw County there, they said, oh, well, we put the solar farm in. This is, DTE telling the folks this. We're going to go ahead and we're going to put solar farms in, and then your utility bills will be cheaper, right? And you won't have to spend as much money on electricity for your home. So a lot of people, they bought into it, allowed it to go ahead and be built. After it was built, it went online. Everybody's utility bills went up, and a lot of people had questions. And guess what? There were no answers. Okay, so you know, honestly, it's not sustainable here in Michigan. They need to pick a sunnier state for your solar and wind power. We don't even really get that much wind here. There's really no wind in the wintertime. I mean, there's some windy days where you get some snow drifts and stuff. I mean, it's pretty windy in the fall, a little bit in the spring, summertime, hit and miss. But as much oil and the maintenance for the solar farms and for wind turbines themselves. I mean, is it really worth trying to save money on your utility bills? So far, I haven't heard anybody say, "Oh, you know what? I'm saving, $25 a month on my utility bills because they put a solar farm in, or they put wind turbines in. I'm saving money. I saved this X amount of dollars." Have you ever heard anybody say, "I'm saving money because of this"? I haven't. I haven't saved any money. If anything, the utility bills keep going up. So I don't see how they can say, "Oh, it's cleaner for who?" You know, it's really not for us. You're going to use a ton of oil with the turbine system. They had a couple of them catch fire because there wasn't enough oil, and the bearings caught fire, and the whole thing caught on fire. That's happened a few times that I've noticed that I happened to come upon on a social media post. Somebody had a video on it. Okay, so I mean, you have a video on it, it's got to be true. So let's get to this. The company Atwell. Let's talk about them. I went on their website and all that, and they actually have an article that they wrote. Okay, now I'm going to remind you, Atwell, the Atwell company themselves, they do not own any solar farms or any data centers. They're just part of the construction. They help find the right location needed for the project. Okay, and then they work with cities to get the permits done. Okay, they even bring over um, to whatever city it is, especially if people are opposing a data center or a solar farm. They'll actually bring people from their home state to ease everybody's mind. Okay, pretty much to snowball them into thinking it's a good thing, which it's not. Um, they're not really marketing anything. All they are is they're selling you on the idea that you're going to save money and you're going to help the environment. Okay, now they're that's kind of what they do. Okay, they talk you into it. They'll talk to residents into going ahead and going through with it. They talk to the townships to get them. Hey, you know what? We want to do a solar farm or a data center. It sounds like a great thing for our community. I personally, I say no, it's not because it's going to ruin our resources we have here in Michigan. I mean, we pride ourselves on the lakes, and hunting. There's still a lot of people that like to hunt here. All that is that's all resources that's going to be ruined. Okay, so getting back to the company, I know I kind of got off track a little bit. So, um, they one thing that they said in this article here. I'm going to read some highlighted parts that I highlighted in the article itself. But if you don't think or feel I'm telling the truth, go to their website. Just go to atwell.com. Okay, and just make sure it says solar in there. Go on there. They actually have their own little media tab there. That's where I found this article that's specifically written on Michigan. Okay. And you know what? Honestly, I didn't see any other articles written on any other states. I didn't go through all of them, but I mean, Michigan was, I think, like the third article that they had that they really want to push out to the public. Okay. Um, and a lot of the reason why Michigan is such an attractive state to get this done in is all the tax incentives that we have here for solar farms and for wind power and now data centers as well. So that's one of the I think one of the things that we need to get rid of is those tax incentives for the solar farms, data centers, and the wind turbine. It's just we don't have the necessary technology yet, really, to make this um, aff- affordable and for it to actually help bring energy costs down. It's just not there. Our infrastructure here in Michigan is not there. But they don't care about that because all the incentives, guess who gets to flip those tax credits that they're going to get and the money that they're going to get to even come and build anything here in Michigan to begin with? They're getting that money from us. Okay? So, let me find a thing here. Give me a second. That's the first page I got. All right. To go on what I was saying about the tax incentives here, it says legislature has passed a bill offering significant tax incentives to attract large data centers, placing the state in direct competition with others that already host major tech investments. Okay, so I would say the other state is more likely going to be California. Okay, we all see how great California is, and all the fires that they like to have there because they're broke. They don't have any money to do anything else because they give way too much of their money away. And I definitely do not want to see Michigan become another California being broke. Okay. Now it says proximity to clients, robust utility access, and physical space for expansion are critical. So they're definitely looking down the road to when they start these solar farms and these data centers here in Michigan. They automatically they're thinking, okay, well we'll put this in here, but you know what? In years to come, we're going to expand it. So we need the land. Michigan has a lot of land that's not being used. Okay, says Michigan's combination of abundant land and natural resources ensure long-term scalability for operations. So they know what resources that we have. This Atwell company here, they know, and this is what they give to the companies that are looking to hire them to build this stuff, to build the data centers, put the solar farms in. Okay, so this is how they get these companies to hire them to do what needs to be done because they already know the ins and outs of the laws we have here in Michigan. You know, and I'm just gonna throw this out there, okay? Knowing that we're gonna be voting here in the next 2 weeks, August 4th. Be sure to get out and vote. August 4th, 2026. Primary election. Okay? So we got to get the right people on the general election in November. And that's how you do it, by voting August 4th. Okay, so before August 4th comes, you need to take a look at who's running for governor. Are they for data centers or are they against it? Vote your conscience on that. You know, now I'm gonna go out. And I am gonna say I know Jocelyn Benson. She's running for governor. She's all for it. A lot of the tax incentives, her and Whitmere and Nessel, they all work together to make all that happen. They've been for this for years. I mean, that's pretty much the biggest thing that Whitmer wanted was solar farms and data centers here all along. Her whole 8 years that she's been in office. Okay, that was her whole plan. Yeah, she ran. Oh, we're gonna fix the damn roads. They fixed. Some of them are. Are the roads by you fixed? The road that you have to drive, drive home on. How's that road doing? And yeah, I'm talking to you here on Township, over there on South Huron, and Clark. How are those roads doing? Are you tearing up your car, or you gonna drive a low profile Cadillac down Clark or down South Huron? I know I lived down both of those roads, and they're crap. Okay, they had a school bus run off the road because the road's that bad. Okay, yeah, roads ain't doing as great as they think they are. Okay, they're still not fixed. She's had 8 years to get this done, and what did she say 3 years ago? Oh, we don't have the money to fix the roads now. We spent what we could. Now we're broke. Hence the new gas tax. That's going to be a different video there. There's all kinds of things that's wrong with the gas tax here in Michigan. Michigan, honestly, is becoming the most expensive state for us to live in. Okay, because we're flipping all the bills for all these tax incentives that we don't even need. All right, moving on with the company Atwell here. It says Michigan's political stability and new tax incentives create a favorable regulatory climate. Okay, so really, they're saying, oh, well, the regulations there in Michigan, they're real soft. They're not that hard to beat. Okay, so yeah, let's go ahead and build up Michigan, okay? As Michigan positions itself to attract large-scale data center projects, the state stands at the intersection of technology, sustainability, and economic growth. The incentives provided by the recent legislation, coupled with Michigan's natural advantages, misspoke, paved the way for transformative investments in the digital infrastructure sector. Okay, so let's see. So far, our current governor is, and her, friends, Dana Nessel and Jocelyn Benson, they're yay. Um, they set up a good infrastructure for the digital age, for data centers, for solar farms, wind turbines. But guess what they didn't do? They're not willing to upgrade the infrastructure that sustains our way of living. Our electrical grid is way behind. Um, a lot of our road infrastructure, way behind. Okay, all they have set themselves up for and cared about for the last 8 years is big corporate money. All they have cared about. Okay, so if you actually want to get this gone out of Michigan, you need to start seeing what your favorite candidate, no matter who it is, it could be a Republican, it could be a Democrat, I really don't care. You need to know, you need to ask them directly, okay, what is your take on data centers and solar farms? Are you going to change the regulations and make it more stricter to where they're going to guarantee that they're not going to pollute our water or, just damage all of our resources, dry up our lakes or pollute them, whatever, and make sure that they're saying this on social media. Make sure they're saying it on a news uh, broadcast. Maybe they're being interviewed. Okay, get it on camera, on record. Get it on record. However record you can do it. It could be in writing, video, voice recording, whatever. You know what I'm saying? That way, if they go back on their word, which if they're if there's the other companies that work with Atwell here, if they're putting money into their campaigns, obviously that they're not going to go ahead and do what they say. And if not, we as the people of Michigan, we need to get together and vote them out, fire them, either early or when they come up for re-election, vote them out. That's why it's important, and I know people are probably tired of me saying this. It's important to keep up with uh, your local government, okay, your state, your township, and county. You need to keep up with what's going on and um, who's making decisions for your county, your township, the state. You know, because the data centers, that's going to be the end of a lot of our resources. There's other states that has already has data centers. They've had them for a few years now, and there's nothing but big complaints. You know, and yeah, somebody somewhere is making money. It's not us. It's politicians are definitely going to make some money on it. So we need to be careful. Carrying on here. Now, the person that wrote this more than likely works for the company. Her name is Courtney Schmidt. Now, I do remember seeing that name when some people I saw some stuff on Facebook and other social media. I remember seeing that name on a lot of the discussions of Gladwin and their solar farms. Okay, so Atwell has actually constructed all through Michigan, um, and yes, they do have something to do with the data center in Saline Township, Saline in Washtenaw County. There, okay, so um, you know, this is something we definitely have to watch out for. We definitely are going to have to tighten up on restrictions for data centers and solar farms. I have been looking at. I've been trying to find some data showing that how how much money is Michigan really saving by having the solar farms right now that we already have, and the wind turbines. I mean, you got a lot in Mount Pleasant and stuff. So I'm really hitting the computer on this. It's such conflicting information. So if there's somebody out there that can maybe take a look and really see how much money is being saved by us, the consumer, because so far from talking to people that pay their utility bills, they keep saying it's doing nothing but going up. Okay, and if solar power and wind power is so great, why does DTE want to keep raising their rates? Why does Consumer Energy wants another rate hike? Okay, why? All the solar and stuff that we already currently have here in Michigan is saving so much money. Can't I mean if it's saving money, can't they take that money there that they're saving everybody, which honestly I don't think they are, and put that towards repairing and updating the electrical grid that we have now? It's the same thing when during Biden they wanted to push electric cars, you know, and they did it in California, and we're trying to do it here in Michigan. California, where it was having brownouts because so many people bought these electric cars trying to charge them, they couldn't even charge them. Okay, there was issues with that a few years back when Biden was president there, you know, and the uh, A lot of people in Michigan was like, well, how are we going to charge it? They didn't really have that many charging stations. I know they put more in, but anytime I go by one of those charging stations, I don't even see a car being charged there, So I mean, and a lot of people, they don't want an electric car, and I don't blame them. I don't, and I'm definitely not for these kill switches they're putting in the cars starting in 2027, because they start production on the 2027 models if they already haven't started. It used to be they always started that production line in September of the year before. So September of 2026 starts the new production year of for the 2027 models. Okay, so honestly, I would not buy one of those. You know, look at what they're doing with the flock cameras. There's a lot of stuff going on there too. And that's just right there. That's taking your rights away. We have a constitution to the United States. Okay, we need to get back to that. All right. This stuff, they want to spend money on these flock cameras and all that. That's great. You know what? They should spend their own money. Okay. And I would say, too, seeing how they're passing this legislation and the townships are actually, passing stuff, too, that people don't like. If they don't like it, start suing the board. Not the township. Sue the person at the board. Okay. Because if they make any rules or regulations that conflict with our Constitution, they no longer have immunity. You could actually sue them as a person. You sue them as a person. Okay, maybe that's what we're going to have to start doing. You can do the same thing with a judge. You can do the same thing with a cop. Okay, if they go outside of their scope or they deny you your constitutional rights, you can sue them. There, it is stated in law. If you want to look it up, go ahead. I've seen it. I read it. So that's what I have right now as far as what's going on here in Harrison on the data centers and solar farms. In the next episode, we're going to go through on how a data center works and talk a little bit about the material in a solar panel. And we're going to try and find out what, when a solar panel gets damaged and no longer works, what do they do with the solar panel? Now, I did read an article, which I want to talk about this in my next episode as well, that there is a type of gel in the panel itself that sometimes leaks, and it leaks out of the ground. But I haven't been able to find out if it's toxic or not. There's conflicting stories. There's a lot of conflicting stories on the so-called new technology, clean energy. There's a lot of information that, you have information that says it's bad, you got information that's good, okay? Even a study that I read, which I think was the University of Michigan. I think it was. I'll have to look at my notes though. But there was a university here in Michigan that said that there's no harmful effects for solar panels and solar farms, right? Well, I went ahead and I looked to see who helped fund the research. Guess what? It was the state of Michigan. All right. I mean, it had who funded it was very bad. Okay, so that's all I'm gonna say, because I was looking at who funded the research, and yeah, of course, if the state of Michigan or a political group here in Michigan is gonna fund it, you know, they're gonna say, well, you know what? If we don't like what you write, we're not gonna give you any money. So pretty much they're buying it. Okay, we need independent researchers. Okay, doing these studies, not somebody that's paid by the state. Okay, so we're gonna get into that. I'm kind of getting, I don't know, pissed off, I guess, about everything. I found out so much makes me sick, which is probably gonna make you sick too. And thank you guys too for sharing my videos. Be sure to go ahead and make subscribe, hit the notification bell so when my videos come out, you guys can go ahead and be the first ones to see them. and keep sharing these videos too. We need to get everybody here in Michigan. We need to get them rolling and united under this cause. Because there's a lot of people that don't want the flock cameras. They don't want data centers. They don't want the solar farms. I don't blame them. We need to keep Michigan and beautiful, and not destroy the resources that we already have. All right, thank you for watching. I know this video kind of went long, so thank you again, and we will see you in the next one. Thank you.